How did ancient Romans build such profound mental resilience in a world of constant chaos and uncertainty? They practiced a forgotten art of mental preparation called Stoic visualization. Seneca wrote, "The mind must be toughened by preparation for future hardships so that it may stand unshaken when they come." This was not mere positive thinking. It was a systematic method for training the mind to face any adversity with clarity and strength. By the end of this exploration, you will possess a powerful mental toolkit to transform your own response to stress and misfortune. We will uncover how Roman soldiers used mental drills to conquer fear and how statesmen visualized failure to maintain their integrity. Why has such a potent psychological technique been lost to time, and what can its recovery mean for us today? What personal challenge would you most want to face with unshakable calm? At the heart of Stoic mental rehearsal was a practice called premeditatio malorum. This translates to the premeditation of evils, but its true purpose was the opposite of fostering dread. Think of it not as a dark obsession with what could go wrong, but as a psychological fire drill. You do not conduct a fire drill because you expect a blaze every single day. You do it so that if the alarm ever sounds, your body and mind know exactly what to do, moving without panic through a well-rehearsed sequence. The Stoics were conducting fire drills for the soul. Seneca captured the essence perfectly when he wrote, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." By mentally walking through potential losses, setbacks, and insults in the safe space of their own minds, they were draining those future events of their shock value and emotional force. A senator would visualize being exiled from Rome, not to wallow in self-pity, but to realize that even in exile, his character and inner peace could remain intact. A merchant would envision his ship sinking, not to live in fear of the sea, but to strengthen his resolve and prepare his response, ensuring he would not be broken by the loss. This practice forged a profound inner certainty that no external event could truly destroy them. What single challenge in your own life, perhaps a difficult conversation or a project you fear might fail, could you begin to disarm today by giving it a calm and deliberate mental rehearsal first? The Centurion stands in the quiet of his tent, the camp silent around him. He does not sleep. Instead, he closes his eyes and begins the most critical drill of his life, one that requires no physical movement. He walks himself through the coming dawn. He feels the weight of his lorica segmentata, the cool grip of his gladius. He hears the deafening roar of the enemy war cry, a sound meant to paralyze with terror. He sees the chaos of the front line, the man beside him falling. He rehearses his own movements, his commands to his men, his stance against the charge. This mental walkthrough was not morbid daydreaming. It was a systematic inoculation against the paralyzing shock of battle. By experiencing the worst in the safety of his own mind, he was draining the real event of its power to surprise and overwhelm him. His fear, once a wild beast, became a familiar presence he had learned to manage. This practice cuts to the very core of the Stoic dichotomy of control. The Centurion could not control whether the enemy would break or if an arrow would find its mark, but he could absolutely control his own response, his discipline, and his courage. By focusing his mental energy exclusively on his own actions within the storm, he transformed anxiety into preparation. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor who knew the burdens of command, wrote in his private meditations, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs." This acceptance was not passive surrender. It was the active, clear-eyed embrace of reality, whatever form it took. Now, translate this to your own life. You are not facing a barbarian horde, but perhaps a boardroom of skeptical executives. The modern professional can employ this same drill. The night before a major presentation, instead of lying awake with generic dread, you mentally walk onto the stage. You feel the clicker in your hand, you see the first slide, you hear a tough, challenging question from the back of the room, and you rehearse your calm, collected answer. You visualize yourself pausing, taking a breath, and responding with clarity. You are not fearing failure, you are rehearsing your successful response to it. What single situation awaits you, where the simple act of walking through it in your mind could transform your anxiety into focused, ready calm? As the sun dipped below the rooftops of Rome, another kind of work began, far from the public eye. In the quiet of his study, Seneca would light a lamp and turn his gaze inward, conducting a meticulous review of his entire day. This was his nightly examination, a practice of visualization in reverse. He would mentally walk back through every conversation, every decision, and every reaction, scrutinizing them not with self-condemnation, but with the calm eye of a craftsman inspecting his own work. Where had he acted with patience, and where had irritation taken hold? Had his words been truthful and necessary, or were they spoken from pride? This was not about guilt. It was about awareness and incremental refinement. He wrote in his letters, "The spirit must be called to account each day. When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I have done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by." He was visualizing his own character, identifying the subtle cracks where virtue could be strengthened. This daily audit transformed experience into wisdom, ensuring that no event, no matter how small, was wasted. The modern equivalent is disarmingly simple. Before sleep, in those last quiet minutes, you can close your eyes and revisit just one moment from your day. Perhaps it was a tense exchange with a colleague or a task you approached with procrastination. Replay the scene, but this time, observe your own actions with gentle curiosity. Ask yourself, where could I have shown more understanding? Where did I act with integrity, and where was it compromised? This is not about dwelling on mistakes. It is about gathering data for your own growth, training your mind to recognize the patterns that serve you and those that do not. If you were to conduct this brief review tonight, what single moment would you choose to visualize, and what might you learn from it about the person you are becoming? The Stoics believed in staring down misfortune with the mind's eye first. This technique of cognitive rehearsal was their method for building a powerful emotional immunity, a psychological vaccine against the poison of fear. By deliberately and vividly picturing the worst that could happen, they were not inviting disaster. They were systematically desensitizing themselves to its emotional impact. The first time you mentally walk through a feared event, it may carry a sharp sting, but with each subsequent rehearsal, that sting loses its force. The scenario becomes familiar, its edges softened, until it no longer holds the power to disrupt your inner peace. This practice cultivates a profound state of equanimity, a steady calm that remains unshaken whether you face good fortune or bad. This mindset is the very essence of Amor, Fati, the love of one's fate. It is the radical acceptance of every event, not as a burden to be endured, but as a necessary thread in the fabric of your life. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, born into slavery and well acquainted with hardship, gave this powerful instruction. Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. He was asking for a fundamental shift from resistance to welcome. Consider the modern scenario of your job. The fear of losing it can create a constant, low-grade anxiety that colors your entire work life. Now apply the Stoic drill. Sit quietly and mentally play out the scenario. Visualize your manager calling you into a meeting. Hear the words that your position is being eliminated. Feel the initial jolt and then rehearse your calm response. You mentally walk through the practical steps, updating your resume, reaching out to your network. You confront the emotional reality and realize that your worth is not tied to that single role, that your character remains intact. You are not wishing for this event, but you are welcoming the strength and resilience it could forge in you. What specific fear, perhaps of a financial loss or a personal rejection, could you begin to disarm by giving it this deliberate and courageous mental rehearsal today? Another powerful dimension of Stoic visualization shifts the focus from adversity to aspiration. The Stoics would frequently ask themselves a single, transformative question in moments of decision or confusion. What would a perfectly rational and virtuous person do in my situation? This was not an abstract exercise. They would conjure a detailed mental image of an ideal sage, a figure of complete wisdom and moral excellence, and then observe how this sage would navigate their exact circumstances. They were creating a psychological compass, a North Star for their own conduct. This practice moves beyond merely preparing for hardship. It actively constructs a model for living with integrity right now. Marcus Aurelius constantly engaged in this form of mental modeling. In his private writings, he instructs himself, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil, but I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own. He was not just listing faults, he was setting his own internal standard against them, visualizing how a person who recognizes good must act when confronted with its opposite. He was emulating the good by defining his own response in advance. Your modern equivalent is the concept of a mentor or a role model. You might not know a perfect sage, but you certainly know someone whose judgment you respect, whose character you admire. In a challenging moment, you can pause and genuinely ask, what would they do? How would they handle this difficult conversation with grace? How would they respond to this unfair criticism with poise? By visualizing their likely actions, you are not Chinese letter ing them blindly. You are tapping into a template for your own best self, guiding your choices toward greater wisdom and composure. So for a current dilemma you face, take a quiet moment to visualize your own sage. It could be a historical figure, a respected colleague, or an idealized version of your own highest potential. See them standing in your shoes. Watch how they move through the situation with calm principle. What is the first, small action they would take that you can adopt for yourself today? Within the roaring heart of the Roman Senate, a man like Cato the Younger would stand firm amidst a torrent of insults and political traps. The atmosphere was a crucible of ambition and slander, where a reputation could be shattered in a single afternoon. To survive this, Cato did not merely rely on quick wit. He prepared his mind through a rigorous form of Stoic visualization, deliberately picturing the very accusations and temptations he was likely to face. He would mentally rehearse his colleagues hurling calumny or false and damaging statements against his character. He visualized being offered corrupting bribes or the seduction of easy political compromises. By confronting these potential moral failures in his mind long before they appeared in reality, he was forging an unbreakable connection to his principles. This practice is the core of the Stoic discipline of assent, the crucial pause between an external impression and your internal judgment. You see, an insult only stings if your mind assents to its truth or its power to harm you. By visualizing the insult beforehand, Cato had already decided it was meaningless, stripping it of any force before it was ever uttered. Cicero, another titan of Roman oratory, captured this spirit of constancy when he wrote, "The good man sticks to his course, whoever fares well or ill." This was not stubbornness, but a profound inner navigation system calibrated through mental rehearsal. Now, transpose this to the modern arena of a high-stakes business negotiation. You are not facing political enemies, but perhaps a counterpart intent on pressuring you into an unfavorable deal. The night before, you can adopt Cato's drill. You close your eyes and visualize the conference room. You feel the weight of the offer. You hear the other side making a lowball bid, perhaps even questioning your company's capabilities. And you rehearse your calm, unwavering response. You see yourself not reacting with anger or defensiveness, but calmly restating your position, your value, your principles. You are not visualizing a fight, but your own unshakable composure within it. This mental preparation ensures that when the pressure mounts, your integrity remains the one thing that cannot be negotiated. Think of a stressful social situation you might soon encounter, perhaps a family gathering with a difficult relative. How could the simple act of visualizing yourself maintaining patience and kindness, regardless of their provocations, change the entire dynamic of that encounter for you? The Stoic practice of Memento Mori, the remembrance of death, may seem grim on the surface, but its true purpose is to electrify your life with vibrant meaning. This is the ultimate form of Stoic visualization, a direct confrontation with the impermanence of all things. By willingly contemplating the end, the Stoics sought not to live in fear, but to be jolted into a state of profound gratitude and presence. They understood that a vivid awareness of the finish line makes every step of the race more precious. This is the final pillar of living in accordance with nature, accepting the fundamental cycle of beginning and end that governs everything from a single breath to the lifespan of an empire. Marcus Aurelius, leading armies and governing a vast realm, constantly returned to this anchor. He wrote to himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He was not being morbid. He was installing a mental filter for triviality, a mechanism to instantly distinguish what is essential from what is merely noise. The modern application is disarmingly powerful and immediately accessible. The next time you are with someone you love, pause for just a moment. As you look at them, allow yourself to fully visualize that this interaction could be the final one. Do not let this thought frighten you. Let it focus you. Notice how the quality of your attention shifts. The distractions of your phone, the lingering annoyance from work, the plans for later, they all seem to recede. What remains is the raw, precious fact of their presence. Your listening becomes deeper. Your words carry more weight. You see them not as a permanent fixture, but as the incredible, temporary gift that they truly are. If you were to carry this single, gentle visualization with you each day, not as a burden but as a clarifying lens, what small resentments would you let go of? What quiet appreciations would you finally voice? How would the texture of your ordinary moments change if you truly saw them as finite and utterly irreplaceable? There was another practice, even more radical than the mental drills we have explored. The Stoics did not just visualize hardship, they sometimes stepped directly into its path. They called this the rehearsal of voluntary discomfort. A Roman statesman, secure in his wealth, would periodically choose to sleep on a thin mat on the floor. He would wear a simple, coarse tunic instead of his fine linen. He would even choose to go hungry for a day, not because he had to, but because he willed it. This was not an act of self-punishment or masochism. It was a profound psychological exercise in fear reduction. By willingly experiencing a small measure of discomfort, they were proving to themselves in the most tangible way that they could endure it. They were not just thinking about resilience, they were physically building it muscle by muscle. This practice cuts directly to the heart of the Stoic concept of indifference. The Stoics classified everything outside our control, from wealth and reputation to poverty and sickness, as indifferent to our ultimate happiness. They are not good or bad in themselves, only our judgments about them make them so. A warm bed is preferred, but a cold floor is not evil. By voluntarily embracing the dispreferred indifferent, they were training their judgment to see it for what it truly was, a neutral circumstance that could not touch their inner citadel. The philosopher Musonius Rufus, a teacher of Epictetus, put it plainly. He said, "How can a person become courageous if they only pursue comfort and security?" He argued that practicing difficulty is the only real training for difficulty. The goal was to sever the automatic link in the mind between discomfort and suffering. Your modern equivalent does not require a cold floor. It could be as simple as leaving your smartphone at home for an entire day. You mentally rehearse this first, of course. You visualize the moments of boredom in a waiting room, the twinge of social anxiety without the device to hide behind, the inconvenience of not having a map at your fingertips. Then you do it. The first hour is strange, but soon you notice the world around you with a new clarity. You realize that the anxiety you feared was largely a phantom, and that your capacity for patience is far greater than you assumed. This small act proves a monumental truth, that you are not a slave to your comforts. What single, small comfort could you mentally rehearse going without, and then voluntarily set aside for just a few hours to taste the freedom that lies on the other side of that choice? Now elevate your gaze beyond the immediate struggle. The Stoics perfected a mental exercise known as the view from above, a practice of profound detachment and perspective. Imagine looking down on your life from a great height, as if you were a bird soaring high above your own city. See the tiny streets, the miniature houses, the ant-like movement of people. Now zoom out further. See your entire country as a patchwork on the globe. See the earth itself, a solitary blue and white sphere hanging in the vast, silent blackness of space. Where in this immense cosmic scale is the problem that felt so overwhelming just moments ago? This visualization was not meant to make your concerns feel trivial, but to place them in their true context. It shrinks the drama of the self, revealing that your personal troubles are but a single, small thread in the grand tapestry of the universe. This practice directly taps into the Stoic concept of cosmic sympathy, the understanding that everything in existence is interconnected in a rational, harmonious whole. Your life is not an isolated event, but a brief, integral part of a boundless and ordered cosmos. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this perspective to steady his mind amidst the immense pressures of ruling an empire. He would instruct himself, remember how all things are connected and intertwined, and how they relate to one another, for in a way, all things are mutually woven together. He was reminding himself that his own struggles, his own life and death, were part of a natural, beautiful pattern far greater than himself. The next time you feel the heat of anger rising or the tight grip of stress, try this exercise. In the middle of a frustrating argument, pause for just a single breath and mentally pull the camera back. See the room you are in, then the building, then the neighborhood. See the two of you as small figures in a much larger story. Does the specific point of contention still hold the same absolute power over you? When a work crisis threatens to consume you, visualize your entire industry, the global network of commerce, the planet itself turning, unaffected by this temporary alarm. This is not avoidance, it is the ultimate form of engagement, where you choose to meet the problem not from within the storm, but from the calm eye of cosmic perspective. What current worry, when viewed from this great height, might finally loosen its grip on your peace? Marcus Aurelius wrote of a place within you that no outside turmoil can ever breach. He called it your inner citadel, an unassailable fortress of the mind. He advised, people look for retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, or in the mountains. But this is altogether unworthy of a philosopher, since you can, whenever you please, retreat into yourself. This was the ultimate goal of all Stoic visualization, to construct and garrison this personal stronghold. Every mental rehearsal of hardship, every nightly review of your character, is another stone laid in its walls. The chaos of the world may rage outside the gates, but inside, your judgment remains your own, your peace intact. Your soul, as he wrote elsewhere, becomes a citadel indeed, for a person can find no more secure retreat. This is the essence of internal sovereignty, the realization that your true self is separate from the events that happen to you. You are not your failing project, you are the one who decides how to respond to it. You are not the insult hurled at you, you are the one who chooses whether to let it cross the mental threshold. Visualize this for a moment. The next time you face harsh criticism, picture a literal, shimmering barrier surrounding your mind. See the angry words not as truths, but as stones thrown against this shield. They strike the surface and fall away, powerless to enter unless you willingly lower the defenses of your own judgment. This act of visualization does not make you cold or unfeeling. It makes you free, the sole ruler of your own inner kingdom. What daily influences, what habits of thought or company, currently act as sappers at your walls, weakening your resolve? And more importantly, what single practice could you begin today to reinforce the gates? Every Stoic visualization exercise, from the Centurion's battle drill to Seneca's nightly review, serves a single, unifying purpose. It trains the mind to instinctively grasp the most liberating principle in all of Stoic philosophy, the dichotomy of control. This idea is the bedrock, and mental rehearsal is the tool that carves it into your psyche. The core distinction is brutally simple. Some things are up to us and some things are not. Our own judgments, our impulses, our desires, and our actions are within our power. Everything else, from our reputation and our wealth to the weather and the actions of other people, is not. The legendary teacher Epictetus, whose own life began in the powerlessness of slavery, opens his manual for living, the Enchiridion, with this very truth. He writes, some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is our own doing. Beyond our power are our body, our property, our reputation, our office, and, in a word, whatever is not our own doing. The entire goal of Stoic practice is to pour all of your energy into the first category and to release your attachment to the second. This is the path to true freedom, a freedom that no external circumstance can ever take from you. But how do you make this more than just an intellectual idea? How do you live it when you are stuck in a traffic jam, running late for a critical meeting? Your first, untrained instinct is to rage against the red lights, to fume at the other drivers, to spiral into anxiety about the consequences. This is a perfect storm of things not in your control. Now apply the Stoic drill. You have mentally rehearsed this. You close your eyes for a moment in the car and you accept the reality of the jam. You cannot will the cars to vanish, but you can control your response. You take a deep, deliberate breath. You decide to use the time to listen to an audiobook or to organize your thoughts for the meeting itself. You focus exclusively on your own calm inaction, your own patience. The traffic jam remains, but your internal struggle with it vanishes. You have drawn a bright, clear line in your mind between what is yours to command and what is not. This is the freedom that visualization builds. So take a quiet moment and ask yourself this. What recurring worries dominate your thoughts? Make a mental list of them. Now draw that same line through the center of that list. How many of those anxieties are truly about things outside your command? And how many are about your own potential reactions? The one thing you can always, with practice, learn to master. The Roman soldier prepared for the chaos of battle. But what of the senator who had to prepare for the quiet corruption of a political victory? Stoic visualization was not reserved for hardship alone. It was equally vital for rehearsing equanimity in the face of success. The Stoics understood that good fortune could be a far more insidious test of character than any misfortune. A sudden promotion, a windfall of wealth, public acclaim, these things carry their own unique perils, the slow poison of arrogance and the dizzying lure of hubris. By visualizing these favorable outcomes with the same deliberate calm as they did disasters, they built a psychological immunity to the intoxication of luck. This practice was the bedrock of the virtue of moderation, a conscious effort to remain centered when life offers you the world. Seneca, who witnessed the rise and catastrophic fall of many in the imperial court, warned of fortune's fickle nature. He wrote, "Remember that all things are fleeting and that they can all be taken from you in a single instant." He was not trying to sour the moment of triumph. He was providing the mental anchor to keep it from sweeping you away. Imagine a merchant in the Roman Forum, learning that his most risky trade venture has returned a fortune. Before he celebrates, he closes his eyes. He visualizes the weight of the new coins in his hand. He feels the first flush of pride, and then he deliberately pictures the responsibilities this wealth brings. He rehearses sharing it with his family and his community. He imagines the jealous whispers of his rivals and practices feeling indifference toward them. Most importantly, he visualizes losing it all tomorrow and realizes that his core happiness remains untouched. He is not rehearsing for loss, but for the wise stewardship of gain. Your modern equivalent might be a promotion you have worked toward for years. Before the offer even arrives, you can conduct this mental drill. Picture your manager calling you into the office with the good news. Feel the surge of excitement and then consciously temper it. Visualize yourself accepting the new role with genuine gratitude, while immediately acknowledging the team that helped you get there. See yourself in your new office, not with a sense of entitlement, but with a focus on the greater responsibility you now hold. You are preparing your mind to receive success without letting it define you. So ask yourself, if your biggest dream were to come true tomorrow, what specific thought or action would you rehearse today to ensure it leaves your humility intact and your character unchanged? This rational cosmos was not a cold, mechanical void, but a living, breathing entity imbued with divine reason. The Stoics called this the Logos, a vast, intelligent force that wove every event, every person, and every falling leaf into a single, harmonious pattern. To visualize this was to see the universe not as a collection of random accidents, but as a unified body with its own purpose and pulse. When you grasp that you are a single, conscious cell within this greater being, your relationship to your own life shifts irrevocably. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno, captured this profound connection when he taught that the goal of life is to live in agreement with nature, meaning to live in accordance with this universal reason. To align your own small will with the grand will of the cosmos itself, how could you practice this alignment through a specific form of mental imagery? A Stoic would close their eyes and picture the entire cosmos as a vast, intricate net where every strand was connected. A tug on one thread sent vibrations through all the others. Your personal setback, your unexpected delay, your sudden loss, these were not isolated errors in the system. They were necessary adjustments in the whole, serving a purpose your limited perspective could not yet comprehend. This visualization fosters a deep and resilient acceptance, a trust that dissolves personal suffering at its root. The Stoic poet Cleans wrote a beautiful hymn to this very idea, addressing Zeus, the personification of the Logos. He wrote, "Lead me, O Zeus, and thou, O Destiny, to wherever you have assigned me. I will follow without hesitation, and even if I do not wish to, because I am wicked, I will follow no less." This is not passive resignation. It is an active, courageous cooperation with a reality far wiser than our own desires. Your modern application is direct. That job you did not get, the relationship that ended, the plan that fell apart instead of seeing it as a failure, you can rehearse seeing it as a necessary bend in a river you cannot yet see the end of. You visualize your life as a single thread being woven into a magnificent tapestry. From your vantage point, you might only see a tangle of colors and knots, a confusing pattern. But from the perspective of the weaver, every single thread, especially the dark ones, is essential to the beauty of the final image. So take a recent disappointment, one that still carries a sting. Close your eyes and place it within this vast, benevolent pattern. What if this event was not an obstacle, but the very thing required to steer you toward a destination your former self could not have conceived? This inner citadel is built to cultivate a state the Stoics called Apatheia, a term often misunderstood in our modern world. Apatheia is not the cold emptiness of apathy, a numbed withdrawal from life. It is its vibrant opposite, a state of profound freedom from the destructive and overwhelming passions that cloud judgment. Imagine a stormy sea. Apathy is hiding inland, refusing to sail. Apatheia is being the skilled captain who stands firm on the deck, feeling the wind and rain, yet his hand is steady on the helm, his mind clear, his course unchanging. He is not devoid of sensation, he is free from the tyranny of reactive emotion. This freedom is not a gift, but an achievement forged in the fires of mental rehearsal. By repeatedly walking through disturbing scenarios in the safe space of your mind, you are not suppressing your feelings. You are training your rational faculty to remain in charge when the emotional tempest hits. You are desensitizing your own reactivity. This is the direct path to eudaimonia, the Stoic ideal of a flourishing life characterized by inner peace and unwavering virtue, a life lived in accordance with your highest nature. The teacher Epictetus, who knew the sting of slavery, gave a simple instruction for this very practice. He said, "Do not be disturbed by the sensational appearance of things, but say to every unpleasant impression, you are just an appearance and not at all the thing you appear to be." Every time you mentally rehearse a difficult conversation, you are putting this into action. You visualize the other person raising their voice, perhaps saying something unfair or hurtful. You feel the initial surge of anger, the heat in your cheeks, the defensive words forming on your tongue, and then, in your mental rehearsal, you pause. You observe the anger as a mere appearance, a physiological reaction. You watch it rise and you watch it pass without letting it command your tongue. You then rehearse your calm, measured response, a response chosen by your rational mind, not your raw emotion. Which single passion, be it a flash of jealousy or a slow burning resentment, currently holds a measure of power over your peace? What would it feel like to mentally rehearse its trigger, not to fuel the fire, but to watch the first spark and calmly let it die out, leaving your inner clarity untouched? Seneca's final moments were a testament to a life spent in mental rehearsal. Years before his forced suicide, the philosopher had been exiled by the Emperor Claudius, stripped of his wealth and status, and banished to the island of Corsica. Yet his writings reveal a man who had already walked through that very scenario countless times in the quiet of his mind. He did not meet his exile with shock or despair, but with a calm acceptance that baffled his contemporaries. This was not luck, but the direct result of a disciplined practice. In his Letters from a Stoic, he offers a line that crystallizes the entire purpose of this preparation. He writes, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." For Seneca, exile was not a surprise catastrophe, but a familiar path he had already traveled in thought. He had already decided that his inner worth, his character, and his peace were not possessions that could be left behind in Rome. When the death sentence finally came from his former student Nero, the preparation held firm. Surrounded by grieving friends, he remained composed, asking, where are the maxims of philosophy, where the learning of so many years against the fear of death? Then he met it with a steady hand, his mind anchored in a reality he had long since accepted. This is the ultimate power of Stoic visualization. It is not about predicting the future, but about immunizing yourself against its shocks. Your own life may not hold a death sentence, but it certainly holds its own forms of exile. Perhaps it is the loss of a job you have held for years, a rejection that shakes your identity, or a health diagnosis that alters your future. These are the modern equivalents of being cast out from Rome. The question is not whether these hardships will come, but how you will meet them. Have you, like Seneca, walked through that potential loss in your mind? Have you sat with the emotional reality and discovered that on the other side of it, your core self remains intact? Mental rehearsal does not prevent the storm from coming, but it ensures you have already built the shelter long before the first drops of rain begin to fall. What personal exile have you been fearing, and what might change if you invited it in for a calm, deliberate conversation today? The sun has not yet touched the rooftops. In the quiet hour before dawn, a practicing Stoic is already at work, not on the world but on his mind. His day begins with the most important meeting he will have, a conversation with himself about the nature of reality. This is the morning premeditatio. Before the chaos of the forum, the demands of clients, or the noise of the city can intrude, he sits and deliberately visualizes the challenges the day is likely to bring. He sees the difficult person he must negotiate with, the tedious tasks that will test his patience, the possibility of plans crumbling. He is not worrying. He is inoculating himself, rehearsing his calm and virtuous response to each potential irritation. He is setting his inner compass before he steps out the door. Epictetus gave clear instructions for this very moment. He said, "Say to yourself first thing in the morning, today I shall meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, aggressive, treacherous, malicious, and unsocial." This stark list was not a cynical forecast. It was a vaccine, preparing his mind to meet these behaviors not with shock and anger, but with the understanding that they are simply part of the human condition, and that his own character remains his to command. As the day unfolds and he moves through the crowded streets, his practice shifts from preparation to immediate application. This is the discipline of midday mindfulness, a continuous, gentle mental rehearsal in real time. A cart blocks his path, making him late. He feels the first flash of frustration, and in that very moment he visualizes the dichotomy of control. The cart is not in his power. His agitation about the cart, however, is. He takes a breath and releases the internal struggle. He is offered an unfair deal in the marketplace. Before reacting, he briefly pictures the ideal sage, the perfectly rational person, and asks what they would do. This constant, low-grade visualization is the essence of ascesis, a Greek term meaning spiritual exercise or training. It was not an abstract philosophy, but a daily workout for the soul, where every minor annoyance became a repetition, strengthening the mental muscles of acceptance and right action. Then, as dusk settles and the lamps are lit, the final and perhaps most crucial drill begins. the evening review. In the stillness of his home, the Stoic retraces his steps through the day, not as a judge, but as a scientist observing an experiment. He revisits his actions and reactions with detached curiosity. Where did he succeed in living according to his principles? Where did he fall short? He visualizes the moment he lost his patience, not to punish himself, but to understand the trigger and rehearse a better response for the next time. Seneca described this sacred ritual, writing, "When the light has been taken away and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I have done and said. I conceal nothing from myself, I pass nothing by." This daily audit transforms lived experience into permanent wisdom, ensuring no event is wasted. This entire cycle, from dawn to midnight, forms a seamless loop of mental rehearsal, a continuous process of fortifying the inner citadel against the sieges of daily life. Your own modern regimen need not be as rigorous to be profoundly effective. Begin with just 1 minute. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone or start your day, sit quietly. Choose one single challenge you anticipate. It could be a difficult conversation with a coworker or a tedious chore you have been avoiding. For that 1 minute, mentally walk through it. Visualize the situation unfolding. See the other person's expression, hear the potential objections, and most importantly, rehearse your own calm, principled response. Feel the satisfaction of maintaining your composure. You are not planning for failure. You are programming your mind for graceful strength. This 1 minute Stoic drill is your personal ascesis, your daily training to become the calm captain of your own soul. What single moment from your tomorrow will you choose to disarm with this simple act of courageous foresight? How can we possibly act with fairness when our own anger feels so justified? The Stoics saw this as the ultimate test of justice, a virtue they defined not just as legal equity, but as the daily practice of giving each person what they are due, including our understanding. To cultivate this, they employed a specific form of mental rehearsal, deliberately stepping outside their own perspective. Before a difficult encounter, a Stoic would close their eyes and mentally inhabit the world of the other person. They would visualize that person's life, their struggles, their limited knowledge, and the fears that might be driving their disagreeable behavior. This was not about excusing poor conduct, but about understanding its roots to respond with clear-eyed compassion rather than blind reaction. This exercise is the practical heart of the Stoic concept of oikeiosis, the recognition that all human beings are fundamentally connected, part of a single community of reason. When you see someone as a fellow struggler prone to error just as you are, the desire for retribution begins to soften, making space for a more measured and truly just response. Marcus Aurelius constantly drilled himself in this. He wrote in his private meditations, "When people injure you, ask yourself what good or harm they thought would come of it. For you will see that you need not be dominated by the feeling that they are your enemies. You will recognize that they were simply mistaken about what is good." He was not dismissing the injury, but he was draining the personal venom from it, seeing the other as misguided rather than purely malicious. Your modern application is immediate and powerful. You are at work and a customer is being rude and demanding. Your untrained instinct is to snap back to put them in their place, but you have rehearsed this. You pause for a single second and perform the perspective shift. You visualize this person at the end of a long, frustrating day. You see them dealing with pressures you know nothing about. You understand that their rudeness is likely a symptom of their own pain or ignorance, not a personal attack on your worth. And from that understanding, you rehearse a calm, firm, and kind response. You are not being a pushover. You are enacting justice by refusing to be corrupted by their bitterness, choosing instead to be the anchor in the storm. Think of a recent conflict that still bothers you. For just a moment, close your eyes and see it entirely from the other side of the table. What hidden struggles or fears might have been guiding their actions that you could not see in the heat of the moment? Pain is an unavoidable signal from the body, but the agony we call suffering is a story we choose to write. The Stoics drew a bright, liberating line between the raw sensation of pain and the judgment we layer on top of it. Our fear is not truly of the physical feeling itself, but of the meaning we attach to it, the narrative of catastrophe that our mind spins around it. Mental rehearsal was their tool for rewriting that narrative in advance, for transforming a potential crisis into a manageable event. Epictetus, who lived with a lame leg for much of his life, understood this distinction on a profound level. He offered a radical reframe stating, "Lameness is an impediment to the leg, but not to the will. The body could be limited, damaged, or in pain, but the core of the self, the faculty of choice, remained untouched and sovereign." To mentally rehearse pain was to practice this truth, to feel the sensation while fiercely protecting the will from being conquered by it. Imagine knowing you must undergo a painful but necessary medical procedure. The common approach is to dread it for weeks, to fill the waiting time with anxiety and graphic imaginings of the worst possible experience. The Stoic drill is different. In the days leading up to it, you set aside time for a calm visualization. You sit quietly and walk yourself through the entire process. You feel the coolness of the room, you hear the quiet sounds of the equipment, you visualize the moment the sensation begins. And then you rehearse your response. You do not picture yourself tensing up and fighting it. You see yourself breathing deeply, relaxing into the discomfort, and repeating a simple internal mantra. This is a sensation, and I can observe it without being consumed by it. You are not rehearsing the pain, you are rehearsing your mastery over your own reaction to it. By the time you are in the actual chair, the territory is familiar. The procedure has lost its power to terrorize you because you have already faced its shadow in your mind and emerged with your composure intact. What physical discomfort, from a chronic ache to a feared dental visit, holds a measure of power over your peace? How might its grip loosen if you spent just 5 minutes visualizing yourself meeting that sensation not as a victim, but as a calm, detached observer, fully in command of your will? The very texts that detailed these profound mental drills have largely turned to dust. Of the 300 books written by Chrysippus, the great systematizer of Stoicism, not a single one survives intact. We are left with fragments, quotations in the works of later writers, and the practiced wisdom of figures like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. This intellectual catastrophe is the primary reason the art of Stoic visualization faded into obscurity. It was not a philosophy designed primarily for the written page, but a living, breathing practice passed from teacher to student, a technology of the mind refined through direct transmission and daily application. When the great schools of Athens closed and the Roman world transformed, this oral tradition was fractured, its most subtle techniques lost first. The written works that did survive often emphasized the broader ethical conclusions, while the daily mental exercises, the actual mechanics of building resilience, were assumed knowledge, the scaffolding removed once the inner citadel was built. Later philosophical movements, particularly those that prioritized faith over reason or abstract speculation over practical training, had little use for such a gritty, personal form of mental discipline. It was a tool forgotten in the attic of history, its purpose misunderstood. We are now in the unique position of reconstructing this powerful art from the blueprints that remain, piecing together a complete practice from letters, meditations, and the reported teachings of the masters. This recovery could not be more urgent for our modern moment. In an age of unprecedented connectivity, we face a parallel crisis of attention and mental quiet. Anxiety is the background noise of our time. The deliberate, systematic training of the mind offered by Stoic visualization presents a stark alternative to simply managing symptoms. It is a proactive discipline for building foundational strength, not just applying a temporary balm. So we must ask, why was such a potent psychological tool, one that empowers the individual with such profound self-mastery, allowed to vanish from our common education? What systems or priorities would be threatened by a population trained from youth to meet adversity with unshakable calm and clarity? Your mind is not the enemy, but its untrained state makes it feel like one. There is a fundamental difference between the disciplined art of Stoic visualization and the chaotic spiral of modern anxiety, a difference that comes down to a single word: agency. Anxious rumination is a prison where you are a passive victim of your own thoughts, forced to watch a horror movie of worst-case scenarios on an endless loop. Stoic mental rehearsal, by contrast, is the director's chair. You are the one writing the script, blocking the scenes, and guiding the characters. One is about being controlled by a narrative of fear. The other is about mastering that narrative for your own strength. The ancient Stoics understood that our suffering stems not from events themselves, but from the judgments we attach to them. As Epictetus put it, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. This is the crucial fork in the road. Anxious worry focuses on the uncontrollable event, amplifying its potential for harm. Stoic rehearsal focuses exclusively on your controllable judgment and your response, draining the event of its power to harm you. Place these two approaches side by side for a common challenge, a crucial job interview. The anxious mind spends days in a state of dread. It obsesses over the other candidates. It pictures the interviewers as hostile and dismissive. It replays imaginary stumbles and awkward silences. This is a passive, draining cycle that only increases the feeling of powerlessness. The Stoic mind, however, prepares with active, controlled rehearsal. It visualizes walking into the room and offering a firm handshake. It hears the difficult question about a weakness, and it rehearses an honest, thoughtful answer. It pictures the interview ending without an offer, and it mentally walks through the next steps, updating a resume, making a new plan. One pattern consumes energy, the other builds it. One focuses on the uncontrollable outcome, the other on the controllable process. Look at your own thoughts for a moment. Identify one recurring worry that circles your mind. Now ask a transformative question. Is this a form of passive rumination, or could I transform it into an active, purposeful rehearsal? How would the texture of that fear change if you stopped being a spectator to the horror movie and instead picked up the director's clipboard, calmly planning your own calm and principled response to whatever may come? The ancient Stoics grasped a profound truth about the mind and body long before modern science could provide the maps. They understood intuitively that the stories we tell ourselves in the quiet of our minds directly shape our physical reality. When a centurion repeatedly visualized the chaos of battle with disciplined calm, he was doing more than just preparing his spirit. He was actively training his nervous system. Each mental walkthrough was a silent rehearsal for his own biology, teaching his body to respond to the war cry not with a surge of blind panic, but with the focused readiness of a prepared mind. This consistent practice leverages what we now call neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to rewire itself through repeated thought and action. By vividly imagining a challenging scenario while consciously maintaining a state of equanimity, you are forging new neural pathways. You are building a mental muscle for calm, strengthening the circuits that allow your rational mind to remain in command even when your body senses a threat. This is the physiological foundation of living in accordance with nature, aligning your internal state with the rational order of the cosmos rather than being jerked around by primal, reactive impulses. Your body has a built-in alarm system, the fight or flight response designed for genuine emergencies. Stoic visualization trains you to become the wise operator of that alarm, deciding when it truly needs to sound. You can feel this difference right now. Think of a minor worry. First, let it spiral into a catastrophic fantasy and notice the physical result, a tightness in your chest, a quickening pulse. Now reset, visualize the same situation, but this time see yourself moving through it with steady, calm competence. Feel your breath remain even, your shoulders relaxed. The external facts have not changed, but your internal landscape has been utterly transformed. Which version of that scenario truly equips you to meet the world with strength? Your inner citadel was never meant to be an isolated fortress. The Stoics saw this mental stronghold as the command center for a life of profound social duty. They practiced a powerful form of visualization that stretched far beyond the self, training their minds to see themselves not as solitary individuals, but as active citizens of the entire world. This was the core of their cosmopolitan philosophy, the belief that every rational being is a member of a single, global community. To reinforce this duty, they would mentally map their connections to others, seeing their lives as a series of expanding circles. The innermost circle was the self, then came immediate family, extended family, local community, countrymen, and finally, all of humanity. The ethical task was to consciously draw these outer circles inward, to treat a stranger with the same fundamental concern you would show your own brother. Marcus Aurelius, who governed this vast human network, constantly reminded himself of this bond. He wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." Your personal peace is ultimately intertwined with the well-being of the whole. This mental practice was the bedrock of the Stoic virtue of justice, defined as giving each person their due and actively working for the common benefit. It transforms abstract empathy into a disciplined social responsibility. You can put this into practice through a simple yet profound exercise. Before you perform a generous act, whether it is donating to a cause or helping a neighbor, do not just do it on impulse. Sit for a moment and mentally rehearse it. Visualize the entire chain of events. See yourself writing the check or offering your time. Then push your imagination further. Picture the specific positive impact your action will have on another person's life. See the relief on their face, the burden lifted from their shoulders. This mental rehearsal does not diminish the act. It magnifies its meaning, connecting your personal choice directly to the health of the human hive. How might your actions this week change if you pause to vividly visualize the ripple of good they could create in your own community? Stoic rationality and vivid imagination might seem like opposing forces, yet they were deeply intertwined in this ancient practice. The key is to see imagination not as a flight of fancy, but as the primary workshop where reason tempers its own tools. The Stoics were not daydreamers escaping reality. They were master architects using mental imagery to test their core principles against the pressures of a simulated life. This is reason in its most active and practical form, applying logic to the messy, emotional arena of human experience. Epictetus offered a crucial clue when he taught, "It is not things that disturb people, but their judgments about things." Visualization is the process of consciously crafting those judgments in advance, using the mind's eye to shape a rational response before reality demands it. Think of a pilot training in a flight simulator. She is not there to enjoy the scenery, but to deliberately encounter engine failures and violent storms in a controlled space. She practices her calm, methodical responses until they become instinct, so that if a real crisis occurs, her training takes over. Her reason, honed in simulation, commands the situation. Your own imagination is that very same simulator. The question is whether you are using it as a master or being controlled by it as a slave. Are you passively watching a chaotic film of your worst fears, or are you actively directing a rehearsal of your deepest strengths? How can you begin to use your imagination more deliberately this week, not to frighten yourself, but to deliberately install the calm, rational responses you wish to embody when your next challenge arrives? Anxious what-if thoughts spin in dizzying circles, but the Stoic version carves a straight line directly through the center of the fear. The modern mind asks, "What if I fail?" and then spirals into the emotional consequences, the shame, the financial ruin, the judgment. The Stoic mind asks the very same question, "What if I fail?" and immediately follows it with a structured, actionable drill. What will I actually do next? Who will I still be? The process transforms a paralyzing question into a practical blueprint for resilience. This is the crucial difference between being swept away by a storm and studying the map of the territory before you enter it. At its core, this practice protects and refines your prohearses, your fundamental moral character and capacity for choice. Anxious rumination corrodes your prohearses, making you a passive reactor to imagined events. Stoic rehearsal actively fortifies it, ensuring your inner self remains the unwavering commander of your response, no matter the external outcome. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who knew the fragility of external security, gave a deceptively simple instruction for this very shift. He said, "Do not seek to have events happen as you want, but want them to happen as they do, and your life will go well." This is the ultimate reframe, focusing your will not on controlling the uncontrollable, but on mastering your reaction to it. Take a common modern worry, the fear of a financial setback. The anxious mind spirals, "What if my investments drop by half?" It then jumps to images of poverty and loss of status, creating a cloud of dread. Now apply the Stoic drill. Sit with that same question but guide it with purpose. What if my investments drop by half? First, I will calmly assess the new reality without panic. I will revisit my budget and identify non-essential expenses I can temporarily reduce. I will remind myself that my worth is not my net worth and that my character remains intact. I will see this as an opportunity to practice frugality and resilience. You have not changed the financial market, but you have completely disarmed its power to terrorize you. What single what-if has been circling your mind lately? For the next 60 seconds, dare to give it the Stoic treatment. Write it down, and then write the calm, step-by-step rehearsal of your own empowered response. You will find the monster of uncertainty shrinks down to a manageable set of tasks, and your prohearses emerges stronger, ready for whatever comes next. A flawless mental rehearsal is worthless if it never leaves the quiet of your mind. The Stoics measured wisdom not by eloquent lectures but by tangible deeds. All of this preparation, every detailed visualization of hardship or success, serves a single, ultimate purpose: to forge a hexis, a deeply ingrained habitual state of character that automatically guides your actions when reality strikes. This is the crucial alignment of your thoughts, your words, and your deeds into a single, unbreakable chain of integrity. The philosopher Epictetus, who dismissed abstract theorizing that did not translate to conduct, issued a stark challenge. He said, "Show me a Stoic if you have one. Show me one who is sick and yet happy, in danger and yet happy, dying and yet happy, condemned to exile and yet happy, disgraced and yet happy. Show him, by the gods, I would love to see a Stoic." He was not asking for a perfect person, but for one whose inner preparation was so complete that it manifested in their visible behavior, especially under pressure. The true value of your mental fire drill is proven only when the alarm actually sounds. Think of a moment you have already rehearsed, perhaps maintaining patience during a frustrating delay. The practice has no meaning until you are actually stuck in traffic, feeling the irritation rise, and you consciously choose to take that deep breath instead of pounding the steering wheel. Your visualization built the neural pathway, but your action is what walks down it. This week, make a simple commitment. Choose one small, specific situation you can mentally prepare for and then act upon. It could be pausing for 3 full seconds before responding to a provoking comment, or finally starting that intimidating project by focusing only on the very first controllable step. Let your inner rehearsal be the blueprint, and let your visible action be the proof of the unshakable character you are building, stone by stone, within your citadel. A philosopher's principle remains inert until it finds its way into the theater of the mind. The Stoics perfected a method for this very translation, a mental device we can call the Ladder of Abstraction. At the very top rung sits a broad, noble virtue like courage or justice. It is a beautiful ideal, but on its own, it offers little guidance when your heart is pounding. The Stoic would not leave it there. They would consciously descend the ladder, moving from the abstract ideal down to a concrete, sensory-rich scene. Courage becomes the mental image of standing firm when a colleague unfairly criticizes your work. You feel the heat in your face, you hear the tone of their voice, and you vividly rehearse your calm, measured reply. This is the crucial bridge between knowing what is right and actually doing it under pressure. Philosophy sheds its academic robes and becomes a personal drill manual. Consider the virtue of temperance or self-control. At its highest level, it is a concept. To make it practical, you descend the ladder. You visualize yourself at a party, declining a second drink when you feel the social pressure to join in. You feel the glass in your hand, you hear the friendly coaxing, and you mentally practice your polite but firm refusal. You are not just thinking about temperance, you are installing its circuitry. This process transformed Stoicism from a dogma to be debated into a discipline to be lived. The philosophers were not interested in winning arguments, they were committed to forging character. Every time they climbed down this ladder, they were chiseling their highest ideals into the very substance of their daily reactions. Your own growth awaits a similar descent. What single virtue do you feel is most calling to you right now? Is it patience, compassion? Perhaps it is integrity. Write it down. Now build your own ladder. Take that virtue and identify one specific, real situation you will likely face this week where applying it will be a test. Then close your eyes, descend the rungs. Do not just think about being patient. Visualize the exact moment your child spills their drink for the 3rd time, and rehearse the feeling of taking a slow breath instead of snapping. See the mess, hear the sound, feel your own internal shift. This is how you stop philosophizing and start building the unshakable core you were always meant to possess. Your mind is a sacred space, a sanctuary that deserves vigilant guardianship. This is the deeper purpose behind every Stoic visualization, a disciplined practice of controlling exactly what enters your mental gates. The art is not about building walls to hide from the world, but about actively choosing which impressions to entertain and rehearse, rather than being passively assailed by every passing thought and external event. This selective focus is the very essence of the Stoic discipline of assent, that crucial pause between an impression and your judgment of it. You decide what gets your attention and emotional energy. As the philosopher Emperor Marcus Aurelius instructed himself, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He understood that inner peace is not the absence of noise, but the result of consciously selecting the hues you allow to stain your consciousness. Consider the daily barrage of information you face. A troubling news story breaks, and the untrained mind might loop on images of conflict and crisis, feeding a sense of helplessness and anxiety. The practitioner of Stoic guardianship makes a different choice. They acknowledge the news, but then they consciously redirect their mental rehearsal. They close their eyes and vividly visualize a positive outcome, perhaps picturing aid workers delivering supplies or leaders coming to a peaceful resolution. They are not ignoring reality. They are actively choosing which part of reality to empower within their own mind, strengthening the neural pathways of hope and agency instead of despair. This is how you dye your soul with the color of constructive action rather than passive dread. Tomorrow, as the stream of impressions flows toward you from screens and conversations, which ones will you consciously practice letting in to fortify your peace, and which will you recognize as mere noise, gently turning them away at the gate? This mental discipline is not mastered in a single day, but unfolds across the entire span of a life. Your first attempts at Stoic visualization may feel exactly that, an attempt. It can be a conscious, almost forced intellectual exercise where you must deliberately carve out time and guide your thoughts through a feared scenario, step by laborious step. This is the beginning of the path, the stage of the Stoic novice or prokopton, one who is making progress. The goal here is not a flawless performance in your mind, but the simple, courageous act of showing up for the drill. With unwavering consistency, something imperceptible begins to shift. The practice that once required a quiet room and focused effort starts to seep into the cracks of your ordinary day. A moment of frustration in a long line no longer sparks an internal monologue of complaint, but triggers an automatic, almost subconscious shift in perspective. You find yourself pausing for a single breath before responding to a provoking email, a response you had mentally rehearsed a dozen times before. The visualization has moved from your scheduled practice into the living moment, becoming a seamless part of your reaction to the world. This is the transformation from a tool you use to a trait you embody. The great Stoic teachers, from Seneca to Epictetus, were not finished sages who had transcended the need for practice. They were eternal students of their own minds, committed to the daily repetition of these mental drills. Their wisdom was not a static state they achieved, but a dynamic current they maintained through continuous effort. Your own journey asks for the same patience and persistence. Do not measure yourself against an ideal of perfect, unshakable calm. Instead, focus on the process itself, on the quiet satisfaction of laying another stone in your inner citadel. Look back for a moment over your own recent weeks. Can you identify one small, quiet sign of this progress? Perhaps it was a moment of stress where you noticed your own rising irritation, and just for a second, chose to observe it instead of being consumed by it. That fleeting moment of awareness is not a small thing. It is the first, vital evidence that your practice is taking root, changing you from the inside out. Stoic visualization is far more than a simple mindset trick. This ancient art represents a systematic discipline for forging a resilient and virtuous character, a complete rewiring of your response to the world. It is not about wishing for things to be different, but about preparing your mind to meet them exactly as they are. We have walked through the core practices, from the premeditatio malorum, that psychological fire drill for the soul, to the cosmic perspective of the view from above that shrinks our personal dramas to their true size. Each technique serves a single, unifying purpose: to prove that you possess the power to prepare your mind for anything life can bring. The goal was never to control the storm, but to become the calm, unshakable captain who can navigate it. Marcus Aurelius, facing immense pressure and chaos, left us with this timeless truth. He wrote, the mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle in our path. Your mind is not a fragile thing to be protected from hardship. It is a formidable tool designed to transform hardship into the very material for its own growth. This entire journey leads to a single personal question. What one challenge will you choose to mentally rehearse this week to begin building that unshakable inner strength? Your inner citadel awaits its first stone. If you found this practical wisdom valuable, subscribe for more guides to living with Stoic clarity, and we would be honored to hear from you in the comments to learn what you discover when you apply these ancient drills to your